You aren't organized, you're just bloated. Here is how to stop wasting effort and start connecting your thoughts. In the 20th century, one man used this exact system to achieve a level of productivity that seemed physically impossible to his peers. He didn't just take notes, he built a thinking partner. I'm going to show you how to take his legendary workflow and turn it into a modern automated engine for your thoughts. Niklas Luhmann was German. He is considered the most important sociologist of the second half of the last century. While he lived most of his life without AI or even a computer, he was incredibly prolific. During his life, he produced more than 70 books and nearly 400 scholarly articles published on a variety of subjects, including law, economy, politics, art, religion, ecology, mass media, and love. When he passed away, more than 150 unfinished manuscripts were found in his estate. At least one of them is a text of 1,000 pages. To cover all these subjects, he used a system known as Zettelkasten, which literally means slipbox. When you think about note-taking nowadays, you imagine paper slips. And you know what the main problem with that is? Well, they are floating sheets of paper which accumulate over time, with no efficient way to organize them or to find one when you need it. Even with today's computers, where you can write a note in a text file, you will struggle to organize them and to retrieve the right information when you need it. The main problem with traditional organization is the concept of categories. You define a category and you put your note in it. Whether on paper or on a computer, you create a folder and put your note in that folder. You can put folders into folders, but that doesn't solve the main issue. You end up with what is called a binary tree. The main problem with this system is that a single note is always assigned to one and only one category. But in real life, a note could belong to several categories at the same time. For example, let's say you want to upgrade your equipment for creating better videos on your channel. You make a note for it, but in which folder are you going to save that note? Production gear, budget expenses, quality improvement, future video planning. Is it a money thing, a gear thing, or a video quality thing? It touches all three. No matter how smart you are, this is an impossible problem to solve. Sooner or later, you will have to reorganize everything, change your folders, and in the process of going through years of notes to sort them again, you will probably realize how huge a task it is. You will then quickly decide that you don't have time to invest in it, so you will have to keep your imperfect organization. The problem of sorting notes into categories is exacerbated by the amount of notes you have. This means the problem becomes more and more of a problem over time. But that's not the only problem you will face. One of the worst problems is this. You work on a project, and then you remember you had a note about some point that would greatly serve you here. The only thing is, you can't remember where you saved that note. This note is lost in the mountain of folders you accumulated over time, and you have no clue how to retrieve it. Or even worse, you have taken a note years ago that would be of perfect use at this exact point in time. But sadly, you don't remember it. That note is just forever lost in the folder you placed it in, and will likely never surface again, unless you browse that folder someday. These problems are real, and they are systemic problems. Now let's have a closer look at how Luhmann was organizing his notes. Each note had a unique reference attached to it, a simple ID. The very first note is assigned the number 1. If you add a second note that is not related to the first note, it is assigned the number 2. But if you want to continue the first note, or inject something into its content, comment on it, or something along those lines, you branch off. That new note would get assigned the number 1A. If you continue with this new note, you would go on with 1B. If you then want to comment on note 1A, you would create a note with the address 1A1. And so on and so forth. The first benefit of such a system is that it makes the organic growth of knowledge possible. The second and probably more important benefit is that you can link notes to one another. All you have to do is use the unique references. Nowadays, when we surf the web, we are used to hypertext links. A book is regular text. But if you go to Wikipedia, for example, on each page you see links to other pages, which you can reach at the click of a button. Those links are called hyperlinks, and that text is called hypertext. It's a fundamental concept underlying the web. In this regard, we can say Luhmann's method is hypertextual in nature. Of course, Even with such a clever setup, managing and browsing his notes was a slow process back then. Even if it was faster and more reliable than any other system, as you can imagine, implementing such a system with our modern computers makes it even more powerful. As a matter of fact, several note-taking systems implementing the Zettelkasten method are available. Of course, you could manage your notes with a wiki, but there are better tools, faster and simpler to use, that will empower your life more efficiently. Today I wanted to share with you the one I personally have used for more than 2 years now. It's called Logseq. As usual, I've selected that tool because of the many benefits it brings to the table and because it is open source and 100% free. The first thing you need to do when starting with Logseq is to select a folder. Just create an empty folder somewhere and Logseq will save all your notes inside that folder. I'll call mine My Notes. Done. Now Logseq has created a new graph named My Notes. Let's create our first note. Now I go to my browser to retrieve the URL of Logseq. It's simply logseq.com. Let me copy it from the home link. Back into the app, I select the text used to create the link. Then I simply paste the URL. Automatically, Logseq create the markdown syntax to make a link. If I click on the page, I escape the editing mode, and you can see it is a real link. If I click on the line, I enter the editing mode again. Let's make a link to a dedicated page for Jaime. I select the text, then open two square brackets. Again, Logseq completes the marked-on syntax to make an internal link. Now if I click this link, I'm redirected to a blank page with the title Jaime. Until now, this page didn't exist. I'm going to delete it because I want to show you a trick. When I create a page for a person, I always prefix it with an arrowbase. That way, it's easier to reference people in my notes. You don't have to do it. It's just a convention I follow to stay organized. Okay, let's go to that new page and start to fill it with information. As you can see, this page has a reference to the journal entry we created earlier. Let's enter some information about this Jaime guy. Let me go to my channel to get a photo of myself. I just copy the image. Then back into Logseq. I press enter to create a new block and I paste, I click away and you see my face. Now, if I go back to today's journal entry and hover the link to my page, it shows a preview. You can also use this create button to create a new page. Let's make one for our dear friend Bob. Let's quickly find a smiley face to represent Bob. In the list of all pages, we now see our two persons, alongside with timestamps telling us when those pages were created and when they were updated for the last time. We also have links in the list of recent pages. Let's go back to Bob and add some information, linking him to Jaime. As soon as I write an arrowbase, it offers me the list of all pages, starting with the arrowbase. As you know, for me it means it's the list of people. Now, by holding the keys Shift and Alt at the same time, I can move this block with the arrow keys up and down. If I click the link to go to Jamie's page, you now see that this page is linked to two other pages. The journal entry from May 9th and Bob's page, whereas Bob page isn't referenced anywhere. Let's go back to the journal. Here, you can see a past entry, just a note made when I've published the video about the OmniVoice text-to-speech model. It doesn't matter where you take a note, but for the system to work, for those notes to be able to resurface when you need them, it is very important to link them. Every time you add information on Logseq, you should take the time to link it to your knowledge base. How you do that greatly depends on how you think. This second brain is personal and will be shaped by your own unique brain. I decided to create a dedicated page for OmniVoice, so I click Create. First, I will create a TTS page, because in my head, OmniVoice is a TTS, and I like to organize things in categories. I know I will use many TTS over time, so I want them all to be linked in one place. I type a sharp symbol, because it's the markdown way to declare a title. As you see, it immediately increases the font. Then write down the meaning of TTS, so that I will be able to remember it. Now I can create a page for OmniVoice. And I'm going to use a Logseq feature. You can organize pages in a hierarchical way using a slash in the page name. As a result, the OmniVoice page is now showing a link to the TTS page in its hierarchy section. And if I go to that page, you can see it's also referring to OmniVoice in its hierarchy. Back to OmniVoice, I'm going to link the video from YouTube. I just copy the link to it. Then I paste it to Logseq. It automatically detects it's a video, and it shows the YouTube thumbnail. I can now watch that video from within Logseq directly. Let's go back to the note in the journal entry. I can now link it to my knowledge base. First, a link to Jamie's page. Then, a link to OmniVoice. And again, if I go to the OmniVoice page, I can see a reference to that note from the journal. Great. Now let's create a meeting at a future date. In Logseq, you can enter commands by typing a slash, followed by the name of the command. I type /date. Logseq shows me a date picker. Let's go for the June 10th. It creates a link to that journal entry. This page doesn't exist yet. Let's go to it. Then create a note about that meeting. It's a meeting with Bob. I want to talk to him about OmniVoice and Jamie. I'd like to show him the video from YouTube, but I also don't want to leave the journal page. In Logseq, you can have something similar to a worktop, where you can stack notes from other pages on the right side of the screen. Just hold the Shift key and click the page or the block you want, and now that page appears on the side. Similarly, I can open Jamie's page, and it's stacked on this right side panel. In Logseq, not only you can link to pages, but you can also link to each block within those pages. The block is the true atomic element, as you can move them freely inside a page or from page to page. I'll just right-click on the blocks dot I want, then copy a reference to that block. Now I go to the meeting, add a new block, and press the Tab key because I want that block to be a child of the meeting block. Logseq is an outliner, so we can create a hierarchy of blocks in each page. Now I simply paste the video blocks reference and hit Enter. Next item from this meeting, I want to talk to Bob about the author of the video, Jamie. I go to the right side panel where I've prepared my entries. I grab a reference to the block I need. And again, I paste that reference in my meeting entry. To show you that is just a reference, not a copy of the entry. I can go to the original Jamie's page and change the content of the block. And immediately, my meeting has been updated with the latest value of the block it refers to. I can now clean my right side panel. See, it's empty now, so I can come back and stack things for later tasks. Let's add random entries here. I can reorder elements in the stack just by dragging them up and down. I can edit block directly from within the right side panel. No need to go to the page. I've barely scratched the surface of what Logseq offers. It has a lot of features. I can't possibly show them all in a single video. Not mentioning it also has a lot of plugins created by the community. If you want me to show you more of it, leave a comment. The point of this video was to show you how the Zettelkasten coupled with a modern tool can greatly enhance your knowledge base, making you more productive and helping you ensure you never miss or forget anything. As long as you've entered an information in Logseq and ensured it's linked properly, that information will always pop up the moment you need it. Not only that, but with such a system, you will gain clarity and access a deeper understanding of the topics you'll study. Because you are the one creating the links, the data is stored in a way close to how your own brain works. Which means that way of collecting and organizing information is organic and resonates with you. Logseq have become my only note system. It's compatible with every task and truly helped me being more productive. Because the knowledge base is actually a bunch of text files in a folder, I can easily back it up, share it between several devices, and even ask a local AI to go through it and do some work for me. And remember, if you want to stop letting the algorithm run your life and actually learn how to run your business, go to runthestudio.com.